But I think that's rather a sort of bogus proposition. I am not a VJ. I'm a filmmaker who's really interested in the notions of present tense, live, multi-screen cinema. I think the cinema of our fathers and forefathers is finished now. I would say cinema is dead. And I hope you, certainly me, are looking for something different. Let's keep the cinematic vocabulary, which is getting better and better and better all the time. But I think cinema is wasted on cinema. We've ended up with a bunch of bedtime stories for adults, which are boring, tedious, and irrelevant. Am I saying all the right things in the right order? I understand the VJ show phenomenon is growing now in Australia like it is everywhere. But the heart, I think, where it all began, represented by these two gentlemen who are from Holland. And I have a piece of hardware here, specially custom built, to be able to manipulate as many pictures as I can manage on as many screens as you can manage, and all in real time. And I'm sure within maybe a few years, every single one of you will have one of these pieces of hardware in your front room. We called the product the Tulse Luper suitcases. There is obviously a very good reason for that. Don't worry about this strange name, Tulse Luper, but do worry about suitcases. I'm fascinated by the idea of encyclopedic information age, where we can sum up any piece of information under any circumstances, virtually about anything. So I'm fascinated in pushing cinema into that world, if you like, of the information age, which is associated with the way that we would use an encyclopedia. Not that you should start using an encyclopedia at A for aardvark and finish it as Z for zebra, but to use it in a browsing way. We're now in the age of interactivity and multimedia, and I certainly think that if there is any future in cinema, it has to be interactive and it has to be multimedia. Cinema can't really do either of those things very satisfactorily. So that's one of the reasons why I'm sure, and all the world knows this, even Hollywood, that the whole notion of the cinema where you sit in the dark and look in one direction, and if you're watching a feature film, sit still for 120 minutes, is really very, very rapidly on the way out. Where I live, where these two gentlemen live, in Holland, Amsterdam has probably the worst statistics of cinema in the world. The average Dutch citizen only goes to the cinema once every 2 years. And if that's happening on a Monday in Amsterdam, I'm sure it'll be happening in the rest of Europe by Wednesday, and by Friday it'll be happening here in Brisbane. Not that people are not deeply fascinated by audio-visual sensation, of course we all are, but you don't see it anymore very satisfactorily in those curious places called cinema. Okay, just a little about the content. In 2001, I essayed the possibility of making a hugely ambitious project that literally covered the world and the whole of the 20th century. You could say what you're about to see is one little tiny piece of a huge jigsaw puzzle of an attempt to embrace all the media that we now have. So this project called the Tulse Luper suitcases was indeed made for the cinema, but was certainly made as a website, was certainly made as 92 DVDs, was certainly made as theatrical works, as operatic works, and also as a lot of literary text in a sort of library shelf particular approach. Now the reason for this, I certainly believe, is we're all now deeply invested in ideas of multimedia. We're not satisfied with one singular media approach, but we're all sophisticated now to be able to embrace a whole plethora of different ways of receiving and organizing communication. The suitcases are important because there's a challenge here in this product. I think that we have put everything in the world into 92 suitcases. 92, you might know, is the atomic number of uranium. And most of the 20th century could be said to be associated with the idea of uranium, nuclear fission, the atomic bomb, East versus West, Khrushchev versus Kennedy, etc., etc. And although we all brushed it under the carpet in the 70s and the 80s, it's all coming back. The German elections, which are basically based around the fact that should Germany build nuclear power stations all over again? And as fossil fuels dry out, and all our other solar and wind power proves to be incredibly incapable to fill the gap, uranium, whether we like it or not, whether we regard it as a savior or as an Armageddon, is on its way back. So 92 seems to be an ideal number to play this huge jigsaw puzzle. So there are 92 suitcases, all packed with everything in the world. There are 92 actors, there are 92 major pieces of event, and it's all put together, I suppose, in a series of a minimum of 92 narratives. So don't expect here to sit back for a single image with a single idea, giving you a single continuity which represents what cinema basically is all about. So have a look at this. There are many, many people all over the world, of course, making associated products like this, but maybe the cinema of the world could have something of this about it. Okay, enjoy yourselves, and you are allowed to dance.